In the previous episode, we saw the peak of Cain's lineage, the house of Lamech. And standing in the exact same seventh generation position was another man, Enoch. Two men, same world, same distance from Adam, completely opposite directions. One built power, the other walked with God. One turned strength into self-exaltation, the other turned life into surrender. And the Bible places them side by side on purpose, because they are not just ancient figures. They are two ways of being human. Today, we follow both roads to their end, and we are forced to confront a question that has never stopped repeating in every generation. What kind of world are we actually building? And then if that contrast feels ancient, it shouldn't, because the story of Lamech is not merely a historical memory. It is a pattern, and we are still living inside it. We are living in the same house he built, surrounded by the same traps, only in different forms. The names have changed, but the logic has not. First, the industrial trap. We are deep into Jubal Cain's era, from bronze blades to global networks, autonomous systems, artificial intelligence, and drone warfare capable of striking across the world from a screen in a quiet room. The danger is not the technology itself. The danger is what Lamech already understood in principle. Superior iron changed the calculus of vengeance. When harm can be answered with overwhelming, near frictionless force, restraint becomes harder, not easier. A nation or a person with overwhelming capability is forced into the same question Lamech faced. I can, therefore, should I? Without a moral anchor beyond our own interest, our greatest achievements become more efficient instruments of disproportionate retaliation. The sophistication of the tool does not refine the heart that wields it. So the question is not whether we should build. It is whether the one holding the blade is accountable to something higher than their own wounded pride. But power is not the only temptation, because human does not only build tools, we build voices. Second, the cultural trap. Jubal's harp was created to bring beauty into the world. It was a gift. But Lamech took that creative gift and turned it into a broadcast system for his own violence. He used the art not to elevate others, but to glorify himself. We have built extraordinary hubs, social media platforms, streaming networks, digital publishing tools. Never before have so many people possessed the power to shape narratives, build audiences, and reach millions with a single message. And we face the same temptation Lamech faced, not to create beauty, but to defend our image, magnify ourselves, and strike back the moment we feel wounded. Public cancellation culture reveals this clearly, where a minor social offense becomes a public execution of reputation. Same impulse, faster tools, louder audience. So the question is no longer silence or speech. It is this: are we speaking truth or performing vengeance with better production values? But even that question still lives on the surface, because what we say and project are still sits outside of us. The real question is what happens inside us. Third, the relational trap. When Lamech chose Ada and Zillah, He was not simply breaking a social convention. He was establishing a way of seeing people as assets to be collected, valued, or what they contribute to his life, and replaceable when they no longer satisfy. We have built entire industries on this logic. Dating applications are often designed around the mechanics of evaluation or disposal. Relationships are entered transactionally and exist when the return on investment feels inadequate. Even our language refused the shift. People speak of upgrading partners, keeping their option open, and knowing their worth. Beneath all of this lies Lamech's original error, treating image bearers of God as objects of consumption. The damage reaches beyond broken relationships. When we reduce people to what they can offer us, we diminish not only them, but ourselves. We lose the ability to look at another human being and recognize their God-given dignity. We become collectors. And collectors are never satisfied because people were never meant to be possessed. They are meant to be loved. But true love only grows where the self is no longer on the throne. Apart from God, even our best attempts at love eventually bend back toward ourselves. True love flows from a heart anchored in the God who first loved us. By now, the contrast could not be clearer. Lamech's line built power. Seth's line built trust. One sought security in what human hands could create. The other found security in God. And when the waters came, the difference became impossible to ignore. And the destination of these two lines tells us everything. Lamech's family possessed everything a civilization could want: resources, beauty, technology, power. What they lacked was the anchor beyond themselves. They believed their achievements made them secure. They were wrong. The violence Lamech celebrated did not remain confined to one household. It spread until the entire culture was corrupted by it, and God brought the flood. For all their engineering, their artistry, and their iron, Lamech's lineage disappeared beneath the water. The blades sank. The harps went silent. The songs they sang to themselves were heard by no one. What felt like invisibility turned out to be the most catastrophic form of defenselessness. Seth's line is quieter in the historical record. They are not celebrated for industrial breakthroughs or military campaigns. Their legacy is stated simply: at that time, people began to call on the name of the Lord. And within that line stands Enoch. Lamech represents the seventh generation from Cain. Enoch represents the seventh generation through Seth. The same distance from Adam, the same world, yet moving in completely opposite directions. Lamech's life is defined by himself. Enoch's life is summed up in 3 words. Enoch walked with God. Not a dramatic gesture, not a single climactic moment. A walk, sustained, habitual, daily. A direction chosen again and again in ordinary time without an audience. And then the text says something unique in all the genealogies. Then one day, he disappeared because God took him. He did not see death. The man who oriented his life toward God was, in the end, drawn all the way into God's presence. That is what it means to call on the name of the Lord. Not religion as a category, companionship as a practice. Generations later, down this same family line comes a man named Noah. By the time Noah arrives, Lamech's legacy has reached its full cultural expression. The earth is saturated with unjust, disproportionate violence, and God makes the most sobering announcement in the ancient narrative. He will bring judgment and start again. But before the waters come, God speaks to Noah, and what he asks is extraordinary. He does not ask Noah to fight. He does not ask him to reform the culture, debate the powerful, or build a movement. He asks him to build a boat, a specific boat, to a specific design, for a purpose that must have seemed to everyone around him completely absurd. Noah lived in a world that has mastered Jubal Cain's iron, a world of advanced tools, industrial skills, and technological confidence. And into the world, God asked one man to spend decades building a massive wooden vessel on dry land, in obedience to a word no one else had heard, for a catastrophe no one else believed was coming. There was no applause, no cultural validation, only likely ridicule, the kind of sustained public mockery a culture shaped by Lamech's descendants would know how to deliver well. But Noah kept building. This is the deepest contrast with Lamech's line. Lamech's family built for themselves their barns, their forges, their reputations, their songs. Noah built in obedience to someone else's design, under someone else's instruction, towards a future he could not yet see. His hands were just as skilled. His work was just as demanding, but the posture behind it was entirely different. When the waters came, the ark held, not because it was the most sophisticated structure ever built, but because it was built in faith, according to the word of one who made the waters themselves. Lamech's iron sank, Noah's wood floated, and through the floating vessel, humanity was given a second chance, a path of preservation and restoration. We face the same choice, not once, but daily. We can follow Lamech's path, relying on our technology, broadcasting our brilliance, treating the people around us as assets to be leveraged, reaching for vengeance the moment we are wounded. Much of our culture will applaud that choice, and for a season it will feel like strength. But we know where that road ends. A flood of our own making, submerged by the very tools we were certain would save us. Or we can choose the path of Seth. We can build, invent, and create with the humility to know we are not gods. We can walk with God in ordinary time without an ordinance, the way Enoch did. We can build according to design, not entirely our own, with a patience the world calls foolish, the way Noah did. We can be the people who, in the middle of a culture singing songs to itself, put down the microphone and call upon his name. History has always produced people who justify themselves through wealth, achievement, and approval of power. They built impressive lives. They accumulated. They succeeded. And then the judgment came. Here's what we must understand. When the old order begins to crumble, and it always does, God will not ask how much you earned, how wide your influence reached, or how many good deeds you performed. He will ask one question only. Who did you ultimately trust? Those who quietly surrendered their self-sufficiency and anchor their trust in the Most High have already begun building the ark for themselves and for the generation after them. So in an era of such uncertainty and upheaval, to whom do we entrust this life or death question of trust? As the long arc of history comes into focus, the answer was already given 2,000 years ago. Just as Noah and his family entered the shattering ark by faith, not by merit, not by status, not by the quality of their tools. So today, in the face of irreversible shifts and coming judgment, there remains one and only one saving ark, open to all people, in all places, and in all generations. The gospel of Jesus Christ. He bore the full weight of our sins and our consequences on the cross. Through his resurrection, he conquered death and the darkness completely. And the door of this ark does not open based on how many achievements we bring, how well we performed, or how many worldly advantages we accumulated. It opens on one basis alone: faith, a turning of the whole self toward him. This is not a sentimental comfort. It is a structural reality. As solid as the wood of the ark was solid, as certain as the waters were certain. Every other foundation, the iron of Jubal came, the songs of Jubal, the empires of Lamech has gone beneath the surface. This one holds. Lamech's line ends in the depths of the water. Seth's line carries the hope of the future, and the door of the ark is still open. The question is no longer which line exists in Genesis. The question is, which line are you building today?